No.
What's the difference between Musannaf and Sunan? لأن they're both أحكام from the أثار of the Sahaba.
No, as we mentioned, the Musannaf is a book that contains, or the majority of it contains Athar of the Sahaba and the Tabi'in. As for the Sunan, then these are books that contain a hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, marfu hadith related to ahkam and fiqh. So you will find very rare or little Athar of the Sahaba and the Tabi'in in Sunan Abi Dawud. And this is why Imam Abu Dawud himself says that after my book, a muhaddith, a student of hadith, should also compile or gather the athar, because he has not mentioned them in his book. He has not mentioned them. If they were mentioned, he wouldn't refer a student to this or direct him to this. So this is the difference between the musannafat and the sunan. That if one wants to find the athar of the sahaba and the tabi'in, the first books he should refer to are the musannafat.
We mentioned an example in Sunan, in a book called Sunan, that where the Sahabi will be speaking like Qala Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, and then in the end he'll say Hadith Sunnah, right?
No.
So would that still be considered marfu'? Because the Prophet
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Yeah. This is the asal, yani. The foundation is that this is hadith marfu'. And now many hadiths have sayings of the Sahaba before it or after it. There will be a qissa, a story related to that hadith. Just like the Quran has asbab al-nuzul from the sciences, from the sciences of Quran is a topic or a science called asbab al-nuzul. Why the ayat were revealed? What was the reason? What was the occasion of the revelation of the ayat? The ulama have written specific books in the sciences. So similarly, there's a science in the science of hadith that is called asbab wurud al-hadith. Just like asbab nuzul al-ayat, there's asbab wurud al-hadith. Why the hadith came to exist. And the scholars have written specific books in this topic. So from these stories that are connected to these ahadith from the Sahaba, they derive what was the reason that the Prophet ﷺ made this statement, why it came about. Something happened, something occurred, there was an occasion. A Bedouin came and he asked the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he did something, so the Prophet ﷺ told this. So this is the reason this hadith came about. So these are all connected to that hadith and it is considered part of that hadith. It is considered part of that hadith. Now,
brothers, before we begin, due to shortage of time, let's keep all questions till the end, inshallah, and the Shaykh will take them. Depending on time at the end, let's try to not to stop the lecture in the middle because we're already a bit behind. And so we'll try to take them at the end, inshallah.
If anyone has a question, he can note it down, inshallah, and at the end we can take them, inshallah. We continue speaking on the conditions and the methodology of Imam Abi Dawud. From the most important topic regarding Sunan Abi Dawud is the topic of the status of the hadith of his book. Are they authentic? Are they all authentic? Is amongst them a hadith that are not authentic? And the scholars have differed in this issue, because he has a statement in his treatise to the people of Makkah, which the scholars have understood in different meanings and different light. The statement says that he told the people of Makkah when he wrote this treatise, he says that وَمَا كَانَ فِي كِتَابِ مِنْ حَدِيثٍ فِيهِ وَهْنٌ شَدِيدٌ فَقَدْ بَيَّنْتُ. That every hadith in my book which has a severe defect, which is severely weak, I have mentioned the defect. I have just not narrated this hadith and moved on. Rather, I have mentioned that this hadith is severely weak. This hadith is severely weak. This hadith, as we mentioned yesterday, someone asked a question, these kind of hadith that have severe defects, they cannot ever become authentic. They cannot reach the level of Hasan li ghayrihi by combining his various chains of narration. these severely weak ahadith, they will remain severely weak. They cannot be raised to a rank of acceptance. So he says that every hadith that is in severely weak, I have mentioned that it is severely weak. And of course the scholars of hadith, we don't want to get into detail, they have specific terminology and words they use to rule upon this ahadith, from which a student of hadith can understand that these ahadith are severely weak. After which he says, وَمِنْهُ مَا لَا يَسِحْ سَنَدُهُ. And from the ahadith in my book are that which are weak, not severely weak. Severely weak, I have mentioned that they are severely weak. From them are the ahadith that are weak, that are not authentic. He himself says this in the treatise to the scholars of Makkah. وَمِنْهُ مَا لَا يَسِحْ سَنَدُهُ وَمَا لَمْ أَذْكُرْ فِيهِ شَيْئًا فَهُوَ صَالِحٌ. He says, and this is the gist of the matter where the scholars have differed, where he says that, and that in those ahadith which I have not ruled upon in my book, in Sunan, I have just narrated the hadith and moved on to the next hadith. I have not ruled upon it with being severely weak. Condition upon him that he made was that he would only rule upon the severely weak hadith. And he says that which I did not rule upon, فَهُوَ صَالِحٌ. مَا لَمْ أَذْكُرْ فِيهِ شَيْئًا فَهُوَ صَالِحٌ. This word salih is the cause of difference amongst the scholars of hadith from that time. That what does he mean by salih? So some of the groups of scholars of hadith have mentioned that salih in its literal meaning they are good, righteous, that it means that those ahadith that Imam Abu Dawud has not ruled upon with being severely weak, they are acceptable, authentic. They are good, they are righteous, they are acceptable. This is a view of some of the scholars. But the view of the majority of the scholars and the correct view, and this is after meticulous research of the book, that what he means by the word salih is that they are salih lil-i'tibar, la salih lil-ihtijaj. There's a terminology in the science of hadith, salih lil-i'tibar and salih lil-ihtijaj. The sahih or authentic or acceptable hadith, they're salih lil-ihtijaj, that one can act upon them, based his religion upon them. He can take him as a hujjah. He can take those hadith as a hujjah, salih lil-ihtijaj. He can take it as a hujjah, as a proof for his religion. Salih lil-i'tibar are those ahadith that if their chains of narrations are combined, they can rise a level. This is salih lil-i'tibar, that they can rise a level. So weak ahadith, if their chains of narrations, as we said yesterday, are combined, they can become hasan li ghayrihi, which are acceptable. Hasan ahadith that have saduq narrators in them, that are not the highest level of memorizers, if their chains, there are several chains of this hadith that have saduq, it can become sahih li ghayrihi. It can become sahih li ghayrihi. So this is what he means, Imam Abu Dawud, by salih, not salih lil-ihtijaj, that they are acceptable and can be taken as hujjat for actions and for religion. No, he means salih al-i'tibar, that they can be combined, their chains of narration, they can be raised a level. Meaning that those ahadith that he has not ruled upon, that he has been silent upon, that from them are sahih ahadith, hasan ahadith and da'if ahadith. Because all of these can raise a level by combining the chains of narration. As we said, da'if can become hasan li ghayrihi, it is salih li-i'tibar. Hasan li dhatihi is salih li-i'tibar, it can become sahih li ghayrihi. This is the correct position, and this is the position of the majority of the scholars. And after researching the book of Sunan Abi Dawud, it's clear that this is what he means, salih lil-i'tibar. So from this we benefit from Imam Abu Dawud rahimullah's statement here, that he has ruled upon the severely weak ahadith, and other than it, that he has remained silent upon, which are the overwhelming majority. From them are sahih ahadith, hasan ahadith and da'if ahadith. So someone asked yesterday if I get a hadith that has a reference of Sunan Abi Dawud, can I spread it? So this gives proof that Imam Abu Dawud himself has mentioned that which he has not ruled upon, it can be Sahih, Hasan and Da'if. So according to the science of hadith, the scholars have ruled upon this hadith as being authentic or non-authentic. Rather, there's something even worse than this, which is that these severely defected hadith, that Imam Abu Dawud after it mentions words that give proof that they are severely weak. The person who's not a student of hadith or knowledge, he does not understand the meanings of these words, some of them. So he would spread this hadith and skip the words that are after it, not understanding what these words mean because they're not connected to the hadith, and give a reference and spread it. And Imam Abu Dawud, the author himself, has said these are severely weak hadith. So this is something that a person should know, that the ulama, still ahad terminology. So a person should know that these scholars themselves have ruled upon these ahadith, as we will see with Imam at-Tirmidhi when we talk about him. So it's not proper that you just take the text of the hadith and spread it and give the reference of the hadith. You have to know the methodology of the scholar, his conditions, after which one can spread or base his religion upon these ahadith. And after that we move on to another point, which is what we have always mentioned. We will give or paint a picture by the students of Imam Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri, so that people can understand the level of these books. We said that Imam al-Hazimi, rahimahullah, he has a book, Shurut al-Aimma al-Khamsa, the conditions of the 5 scholars of hadith, in which he has given this example of the students of Imam al-Zuhri, that there are 4 levels, 4 tabaqat. And he said that Imam Bukhari narrates hadith of the first tabaqat, the highest, which along with being the highest memorizers of hadith, who are very rare mistakes, they have spent a long time with Imam al-Zuhri, so they know his right hadith from wrong hadith. So Imam Bukhari narrates these hadith of these kind of narrators, due to which his book has raised in rank than other books. It is the most authentic book after the book of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. The second tabaqa level is the tabaqa that Imam Muslim narrates upon. They are memorizers of hadith of the top level. They have rare mistakes, but they have not spent a long time with the scholar they narrated upon. For example, Imam al-Zuhri. So this is why Sahih Muslim comes after Sahih al-Bukhari in level of authenticity. Now we will talk about the third and the fourth level, which we did not mention because we did not need them for Bukhari and Muslim, but we need them for Sunan al-Arba, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Nasai, Ibn Majah. So the third level are those narrators of hadith that the scholars of hadith have differed upon. Some of them said they are authentic, thiqat, memorizers, authentic. Some of them said they are da'if. So they are not those the top memorizers of hadith that have been agreed upon. They are authentic and they are weak. This is the third tabaqa, but with them being differed upon if they are authentic or weak, they have spent a long time with Imam al-Zuhri. They have spent a long time with the scholar that they narrate the hadith upon. Just like the first level, they were thiqat, but these are not, but they have spent a long time with the scholar they narrate upon. This is the condition of Abu Dawud, rahimahullah. He narrates, most of his ahadith are on this tabaqa. Those narrators that are agreed and disagreed upon amongst the scholars of hadith, if they are thiqat, if they are da'if, but they have spent a long time with the narrator that they have narrated upon, the shaykh they have narrated upon. So this time that they have spent, this gives strength if they have been ruled upon with being weak in their memory. This long time gives strength and they might be raised to a level of Hasan.
What's a long time? 5 years, 10 years?
I mean, there's no tahdid. The muhaddithin have, based on his volume of hadith, and they have various ways of determining. There's no fixed I mean, this is not maths we are talking about here. 1 + 1 is 2. This is a very precise and detailed science, so there's no fixed long time. This is left to the scholars of hadith. When they say that in their books, when they mention biographies of this narrator, that he has spent a long time with that shaykh, we accept it. We refer to them to find out who spent a long time or not. They will mention in the biographies that lazamahu, that this narrator spent a long time with his shaykh. They are the ones who rule upon this. So this is the condition of, or the level that Imam Abu Dawud narrates upon, mostly. The fourth, the last level, are also those narrators that are disagreed upon. They are authentic, they can be the weak, and with that they have not spent a long time with the narrator that they narrate upon. Like Imam al-Zuhri, they have not spent a long time. And this is the shart or condition of Imam at-Tirmidhi, rahimahullah. We will mention that here and we will mention that there. This is the condition of Imam at-Tirmidhi. Imam Tirmidhi, many of his ahadith, he has narrated on this level of narrators, who are between strength and weakness, and along with that they have not spent a long time with the narrator they have narrated upon. So Imam al-Hazmi, he mentions that here we have two phenomena at the same time. In one case, the Tirmidhi is above Abu Dawud, and in one case Abu Dawud is above at-Tirmidhi. How is that? He says that Abu Dawud is above at-Tirmidhi by the fact that he narrates most of his ahadith on the third level, from the third tabaqah. And Imam Tirmidhi narrates most of his ahadith from the fourth level, which are lesser than them. So this way Imam Abu Dawud is higher than at-Tirmidhi in strength, in authenticity. Sunan Abi Dawud is higher than Jami' at-Tirmidhi in authenticity. But in a way, Tirmidhi is better or above Abu Dawud. Why is that? No. Because as we just mentioned, Abu Dawud rahimahullah, even though he narrates on this third tabaqah, he remains silent on the most of the hadith. He does not mention the ruling. Imam Tirmidhi, even though he narrates most of his hadith on this fourth tabaqah, he rules on every single hadith. He himself rules on every single hadith. We'll mention that in Jami' Tirmidhi. After every hadith, he has a ruling on it. Sahih, Hasan, Hasanun Sahih, Hasanun Gharib. He has so many terminologies ruling upon this hadith. So in this way, he has raised the one who rules and makes it apparent to the people is better than the one who remains quiet. So this is the way that's due to which some scholars have said Sunan Abi Dawud is more authentic than Tirmidhi, and some scholars have said Sunan or Jami' Tirmidhi is more authentic than Sunan Abi Dawud. Understood? Now, then we come to a very important point. This that why would Imam Abu Dawud narrate weak ahadith in his book? Why would he narrate weak ahadith in his book? Huh? So, as we said, that in his book are the severely weak ahadith which he has ruled upon, and the rest are either Sahih, Hasan or Da'if. So Sahih, Hasan, we have no problem. They are all acceptable ahadith. But why would he narrate weak ahadith in his book? So the scholars have mentioned three main reasons for it, and these reasons can be applied to all the other books of hadith. The muhaddithin, the scholars of hadith, they have specific reasons for doing this, and if someone were to understand these reasons, then it is something very easy to accept. The first reason, as we mentioned, that the da'if hadith, the weak hadith which is not severely weak, it is salih lil-i'tibar. It can be raised to hasan li ghayrihi. It can become acceptable. So Imam Abu Dawud rahimahullah narrates this hadith in his book, mentions this hadith in his book, so that a scholar of hadith after him, a student of hadith, he can do takhrij, gather the chains of narration of this hadith, and it can be raised to hasan li ghayrihi. It can become acceptable. So this is one reason. The second reason is that, is also what we mentioned, that his condition is to mention the foundational ahadith of jurisprudence, that the fuqaha, the various groups and types of jurists used to derive rulings, to derive the jurisprudent rulings. So he wanted to gather the ahadith that the fuqaha use so that they can benefit from these ahadith to derive their rulings. So either they are authentic or non-authentic, the fuqaha base their fiqh on all types of ahadith, because they have other proofs or other reasons to give this ruling. A ruling is just not made on a hadith. With that weak hadith, they might have other principles and other proofs that due to which they gave that ruling and which give strength to this weak hadith. So this is one of the reasons. The third reason, and this is a very important reason, that the muhaddithin, the Ahlul Hadith, the scholars of hadith were of the viewpoint that the weak hadith is better than personal speech and qiyas, analogy. This was their way. This was the way of the scholars of hadith, Ahlul Hadith. Imam Ahmad rahimahullah is known for this. We mentioned yesterday that he forbade his students and he disliked that anything be written along with the hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he rather also criticized Muwatta because along with the hadith there is speech of Imam Malik rahimahullah. So the scholars of hadith were of this viewpoint that even if a hadith is weak, but it does not reach severity in weakness. It is weak, it is still better than personal speech of men, an analogy. If this hadith, weak hadith is left off, then the people will be left to their intellect and analogy to derive rulings. They will look at one proof and then try to do analogy of that on other rulings. So they said, and this was from the way that hadith da'if is better than qiyas and rai al-rijal. So this was one of the reasons that they mentioned this ahadith. And as we said yesterday, and we'll mention it again, as long as a scholar of hadith, author, has expounded upon his condition and his methodology, and he has followed that methodology, there is no blame upon him. Imam Abu Dawud clearly stated his methodology, and he has followed his methodology, so there can be no blame upon him. He has mentioned the reasons, he has mentioned why he followed this methodology, so this is completely acceptable. As we said, what can be blameworthy is if someone sets conditions and he does not follow them, he opposes them. This is what is blameworthy. But if someone sets a condition and he follows them, there's no blame upon them. In the end, we'll mention some of the efforts of the scholars of hadith on this book, great book of Sunan Abi Dawud. We already mentioned that some of the scholars have gathered the shuyukh, teachers of Imam Abu Dawud in one book, such as the book Tasmiyah Shuyukh Abi Dawud of Imam Abu Ali al-Ghassani al-Jayyani. Also we mentioned if a person wants to read the biography of a narrator of Sunan Abi Dawud, he should refer back to the book Tahdhib al-Kamal that has gathered the narrators of the 6 books of hadith to find out if it's authentic, if it's weak, what the scholars of hadith have ruled upon this narrator of Imam al-Mizzi. And then the books that came after it, Tahdhib al-Tahdhib, Taqrib al-Tahdhib, all based on this one book. From the, also I guess we mentioned yesterday on a question that from the books that have served this book are those books who have summarized it, Mukhtasarat. And we mentioned the Mukhtasar of Imam al-Qurtubi and Imam al-Mundhiri. So Imam al-Mundhiri has a summarization of Sunan Abi Dawud. He has summarized Sunan Abi Dawud. Then lastly we will mention the explanations of Sunan Abi Dawud, which is the most important types of books that a student of hadith and knowledge needs. The first explanation of Sunan Abi Dawud, the earliest explanation, is a book Ma'alim as-Sunan. Ma'alim as-Sunan of Imam al-Khattabi. So we can see here that Imam al-Khattabi, who passed away in the year 388, just like he's the first person to explain Sunan Abi Dawud, he was the first person to explain Sahih al-Bukhari. Sahih al-Bukhari explained with the book Alam al-Hadith, Alam al-Hadith. And here he has Ma'alim as-Sunan. So he's the first scholar to explain both these books, Sahih al-Bukhari and Sunan Abi Dawud. And we will suffice with mentioning the most important explanation of Sunan Abi Dawud that a student of knowledge, a student of hadith should refer to, which is an al-Ma'bud. An al-Ma'bud fi Sharh Sunan Abi Dawud, of the great scholar of hadith, Al-Allama Shamsul Haq Al-Azim Abadi. Shamsul Haq Al-Azim Abadi, rahimahullah, who was from the great scholars of hadith of India, who passed away in the year 1329, almost 115 years ago, 1329. He was from the great scholars of hadith of India, from the foremost students of the reviver of the Sunnah in India, Al-Imam Al-Sayyid Nazir Hussain Ad-Dahlawi, rahimahullah. And from the great benefits of the book An al-Ma'bud is that it is upon the way of the Ahle-Hadith of the Indo-Pak subcontinent. They are not confined to one madhab from the madhahib like the other explanations are. They go with the proof and the hadith and the dalil wherever it goes. They follow the dalil and the sunnah wherever it leads them. It is not confined to one madhab. And also from the great benefits and that which distinguishes the Ahlul Hadith of India and Pakistan is that they are Salafi in Aqidah. So, like some of the other explanations that we have mentioned, they have mistakes in Aqidah. But the book of An al-Ma'bud is of an Imam who was Salafi and Aqidah. So you won't find any mistakes in Aqidah in this book. And with this we finish Sunan Abi Dawud. And before we move on to Tirmidhi, if there's one or two questions, we can take them inshallah. Yeah.
For severely weak hadith that's mentioned in Sunan Abi Dawud, could it be said that the reason he mentioned it is because so that people can know that this hadith, if somebody hears it?
Yeah, there's no doubt. He mentioned them because some of the fuqaha use this hadith to derive a ruling from them. And he mentioned the weakness, defect, so that the people can know that this hadith is not authentic and the ruling based on this is not authentic, even though some of the fuqaha might have used this hadith for deriving a ruling from it. Now,
the statement that is the weak hadith that is better than the speech and analogy.
Yeah.
Isn't that what the Hanafiya is based on? The Hanafiya's perspective, that they're okay with the...
No, the Ahlul Rai,
yes,
the Hanafiya, they mention this in actions. In action, implementing that, we should implement and act upon weak hadith. We are talking about narrating this hadith, authoring, gathering this hadith. And as we have said repeatedly and just a few minutes ago, that these hadith, it can be ruled upon as being authentic and non-authentic. And we oppose the scholars who said that which Imam Abu Dawud remains silent on, they are authentic. So we are talking about narrating or mentioning this hadith. Why did the muhaddithin mention this hadith? Why did the muhaddithin mention these ahadith? So they mention it from this aspect, and as we said, that it is not just one reason they mentioned it. They might not have heard a chain of narration of this hadith that another muhaddith in his country or in his travels could have heard. And combining these two chains, it can raise this hadith to being acceptable, hasan li ghayrihi. Being acceptable, hasan li ghayrihi.
But on their own, acting on them is the...
Yeah, this is something that is agreed upon amongst the Ahlul Hadith. We are talking about compiling and gathering this hadith. They left the door open from their piety that they might not have heard a chain of narration of this hadith that someone else could have heard that could make this hadith acceptable. And this is a reality. Today, when you do takhrij of this hadith, gather the chains, many hadiths in Sunan Abi Dawud that just with that chain in Sunan Abi Dawud, it is weak. But with gathering the chains, you can say it is hasan li ghayrihi. And this is also a great benefit. From the great mistakes is to rule upon a hadith just on one chain of narration. This is something that is in opposition to the methodology of the scholars of hadith. A hadith cannot be ruled upon just on one chain of narration. So you can't open a book, Sunan Abi Dawud, Tirmidhi, Musnad Ahmad, and look, study that chain, see if it's muttasil, connected, see if the narrators are authentic or not, and then rule upon it. This is from the mistakes in ruling upon a hadith. You have to gather the chains of narration of this hadith. Who else narrated this hadith in their books? So this hadith that Abu Dawud Mathalan narrated, Imam Nasai narrated, Ibn Majah narrated, Musnad Ahmad, Imam Ahmad narrated, Darimi narrated, Muwatta, it is present in Muwatta. So when you gather these chains, you can have a weak narrated in Sunan Abi Dawud, but you can have another weak narrated, for example, in Muwatta. You can have a break in Musnad. So these small defects, they can combine and make this hadith Hasan لغيره. And this is the way of the Muhaddithin. And Imam al-Albani rahimahullah, the rulings that he has ruled upon in those hadith, and when he has differentiated Sahih from Da'if, Sahih Abi Dawud, Da'if Abi Dawud, this is how he has ruled. Not just on that chain. He has combined the chains of narration of this hadith, and then based in light of all those chains of narration, he has ruled upon the hadith. No.
So, I think you answered the question.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned there are no mu'allaqat in Sunan Abi Dawud, but there are non-authentic ahadith.
Yeah.
And the primary reason maybe there is, one chain.
Yeah, there are several reasons as we have mentioned.
You need multiple chains to prove it. Now, at the same time, when we have this point, like there are non-authentic ahadith, we know that from the perspective of Imam Dawood, he did categorize some ahadith as da'if, right? And for other ahadith, he used the word salih.
Salih, no.
Right? So like if some hadith come to us and it doesn't say da'if,
no,
right? So our assumption is it's a salih from the perspective of Imam Ibn Dawud. So having said that, would it be okay to just spread the salih hadith?
No. I mean, as we said, these terminologies are well known amongst the scholars of hadith. So we should not understand them upon our understanding. So for us to just take the literal meaning of this word salih and say they're good, they are righteous, this is a mistake. The scholars of hadith are the one who understand these terminologies, and they're the one who give meaning to these terminologies. So we have to refer back to them. So when the scholars of hadith said this salih means salih lil-i'tibar, not lil-ihtijaj, we are with them, we accept that from them. And this is the reality of the book. Anyone who reads Sunan Abi Dawud, he can find this. And he himself, before he's saying salih, he says, fihi ma la yasih sanadu. What will you do with this? And in that, he says that the weak, severely weak, I have ruled upon it. And after that he says, there are hadith, ma la yasih sanadu, that which are not authentic. Their chain of narration is not authentic. So this is explicit. We don't even need to get to salih. It's explicitly stated there are hadith that chains of narration are not authentic. So the terminologies, the scholars of that science are the ones who understand them and they explain them. We have to refer back to them.
What if there are differences between who's ruling on the hadith?
That's, as I said, this science, it has principles. It has guidelines. If a person follows those principles and guidelines, and after that, that which ijtihad can enter upon, if there's a difference, there's no problem. But the guidelines have to be followed. Okay, so if two scholars of hadith who are known for following this science of hadith properly, and then the ijtihad part, one of them saw that the narrator is da'if, one of them saw that it is saduq, he is saduq. So one of them rule upon it being da'if, one of them rule upon it being hasan. So this is something that is not problematic, as I said, as long as they follow the rulings. Upon the layman is to refer back to the scholars. As I said yesterday, the layman who cannot rule upon this ahadith or research them, at the very least, he should mention the ruling of one of the well-known scholars in the science with the hadith. So if Shaykh al-Albani, for example, rahimahullah, has ruled upon this hadith as being hasan or sahih, authentic, acceptable, then he should mention that along with the hadith. And this is enough for him. This is enough for the layman. We should continue inshallah and we'll open questions later.